In 2010, an engineering and construction project unlike any other was embarked upon. A select team of architects, engineers and construction personnel was assembled to undertake a unique challenge: the upgrade of the Blue Mountains-based world-renowned attraction, the Scenic Railway.
We got to a point where, as supervising maintenance here at Scenic World, where I was in a situation where I needed to nearly rebuild most of the train. Its mechanical design life was coming to a completion, so it was the other train had been running for 18 years and its design life was about 20, so we knew it was getting to a point where it was just a matter that it was going to need a rebuild.
The leading consulting and engineering firm Sinclair Knight Mertz was appointed by Scenic World to manage the $30 million redevelopment of the world's steepest incline railway.
We were engaged for this project in firstly in about mid-2010. We are the appointed project managers and representative of the client. So not only are we doing the project management, but we're also doing the engineering design. We did quite an amount of survey, geotechnical, structural engineering, and there was a lot of structural engineering, and there was some building services engineering.
We're the project managers and design managers of the overall project, so we coordinate all the parties. The importance of that role is, for our client on this particular project, is looking at the entire life cycle of the construction and the design. So looking at the engineering, design, the procurement and the construction management. For that, we've put together a team of consultants, which a lot of them are people that has been involved in this project before, a long history with a lot of them, including PMDL Architecture and Garaventa, Melina Stewart, the environmental consultants.
Everything we've done here has been an attempt, I guess, to reinforce the history of the site, man's conquest over nature, industry versus nature. So it's all those pieces pulled together.
We looked at a number of scenarios in terms of what contracting strategy we would use in selecting our construction contractor. We did our own research in the marketplace, below the surface research. We selected 2 contractors, we interviewed, we asked them for proposals, we asked them for amended proposals, we interviewed again, and we selected a group called Grindley Construction.
In the initial sort of early planning and design phases, we brought along the environmental planners and the architect to collaborate and come up with preliminary design. That placed a setting for all the other design issues that would come about. Once we got the design to a fairly comfortable level, we started talking to contractors, and we actually put together an early contractor involvement process where we went to several contractors, talked to them about what we're trying to do here. The materials, logistics and handling of this site is just absolutely incredible. The need to provide that continuity of business for the client, the staging all around to keep everything operational is very important.
I hadn't worked with Scenic World before, but essentially they needed a builder who brought a design technical skill, and we have guys on our team who also understood the services and the plant and equipment, particularly the railway equipment that we were going to have to manage the installation of. So I guess they were looking for somebody to complement their design skills, their engineering skills and their project management skills, and we understood and had played all those roles before on other projects as the team leader, that we could follow the team leader in those 3 disciplines on the project. That's what they needed, a company that was solid financially, was going to push the job through and help cash flow the project, because it had to happen in big lumps, and so all those aspects are what we brought to the table.
The task at hand for the team was a complete replacement of the existing Scenic World train, track and station facilities, all under very challenging conditions.
Materials handling logistics for this project was something that we'd never really encountered before.
And that day that helicopter lifted up and picked up that first piece of steel tower structure to fly it down into, I was on the sideline cheering.
This was heavy engineering, but it had to be made lightweight enough to be installed or to be airlifted. There might have been a little bit of banging and pushing, but at the end of the day, those elements of material handling, I think, were the biggest challenge on the job outside of safety.
you'll see that on the west side of the platform, they're quite modular sections which were lifted in by helicopter and fully rigged together in place using a helicopter.
I've had many a difficult site and different difficult time frames to meet before, but this was just all bundled into one, unique, never to be done again, right through from the foundations to pouring concrete, working around the public. It was almost like we were inviting the public to walk onto our building site each day. And that's how sort of clean and organised we had to be to make that happen.
I think one of the things that we struggled with the most was handling the concrete and developing what we called a service car that we could hook onto the old train and at night and in the morning, and we had a concrete kibble on a swivel so that it would always remain horizontal and not spill the concrete. We'd go down and then we'd shoot it into a jerry-rigged timber chute and into the footing, and it might take an hour to pour a cubic meter of concrete, but that's the kind of thing we were doing. So the material handling process from the crane on top, which got the concrete to the track, but then getting that concrete down the track without spilling it and losing the load and getting it in the right place was, we spent a lot of time thinking about that.
When we looked at the track replacement work that was required, the main key issue for the client was to keep the train running as long as possible for the duration of the entire project. So that basically meant that we would have to be doing an operational site and then look at either morning sessions or late night and night work in order to do the rest of the work. So each individual start and end of a shift would have to return the track back to operations. So what we did was we provided all the civil foundations along the alignment of the track just on the outside of the existing foundations, put all those in place using our micropiling techniques, and then at the end of the project, after all that was ready, we then proceeded with a sort of a leapfrogging effect of removing one section of track and replacing it with other sections of track.
As part of Scenic World's ongoing maintenance regime, SKM geotechnical engineers were commissioned to undertake a review of the existing tunnel, which resulted in the creation of a package of stabilisation upgrades. Scenic World took the opportunity to address these works in parallel as part of the railway upgrade project.
I'd say the toughest element of the project was definitely the tunnelling works that we undertook. We had to go down, and you can imagine, we had to shape the tunnel all the way down through and anchor up the hanging rock at the head of the tunnel and all the way down through the tunnel. Then they had to drill up and anchor and pin in all of your galvanised steel mesh and then spray concrete all the way down through and then colour that concrete to look like rock.
It was very important for the client that the tunnel is not just a get in there, it's an engineering feat where you just go and blast through and make this great big tunnel. It was very important to them that they kept some of the inherent aspects of the tunnel being very closed in. That's important for tourism. It's important that they get the experience of the ride, that it's very closed in. We also undertook a 3D survey of that tunnel. So that sends out a whole heap of blasts into the tunnel of a scanner. Then we go back and take those dot images and pull it all back into a design model. We model it, and then from there we look at the existing tracks, where we put our new tracks, and then come up with a design envelope for where the train would need clearance. And then from that we took out the parts of the tunnel that we needed to shave off and to ensure that minimum clearance is kept.
With the crew working on such a unique and challenging site, this meant applying stringent safety procedures and protocols.
Safety-wise, there were no benchmarks, and it is the one thing that kept me awake through parts of the project, knowing that at times there might be 30 men hanging off various parts of that mountain at 50 to 60 degrees, doing their work and coming back up the mountain safely. You know, no dramas. And it took fortitude by every one of those individuals and the will to do it right. Because one slip in your attention span, you're gone. We had over 500 inductions on that site, And from a safety perspective, it had to be the most unique project in Australia. It was a combination of building, tunnelling, mining, and civil engineering.
For each of the architectural, engineering and construction teams, the Scenic Railway upgrade was a very satisfying experience.
I think that some of the most rewarding things is to actually go through that process of looking at this I guess entire engineering infrastructure and thinking about the solution that really works for our client, and using the knowledge of all our consultants and pulling that together to come up with ideas that is a good design, it can be built, that is safe and does work for our client in terms of their operations.
The diversity of disciplines involved in the project, from SKM's engineering and to the design intent that PMDL architects brought to the project, to the actual installing of the job by Grindley. I mean, every facet of the project was just new and fresh, and you were doing something that everyone knew on the project, that this is not a repeat job.
It's so nice to be a client that can be so interactive with the construction. You know, I'm out there every day, I'm talking about what's going on, and it's really nice that they can see how passionate you are about it, rather than being an owner that turns up once a week or once a month to a meeting and says, how's it going, and then leaves again. Every day, all of the construction guys see you out there and see me out there and really enjoy interacting with them and encouraging them, and it's so lovely to be able to do that. And I think it makes everybody else that much more excited about getting the project finished.
And it was so unique and so different that, you know, I'd get to work in the mornings when I'd spend time up there, and you'd arrive with a smile on your face and you'd leave with a smile on your face at the end of the day.